Welcome back, everyone, to the Abstract Machine. As always, I'm your host, Tiernan Blair-Mitchell. There are many things to enjoy in this world. For you to choose me to be one of them is truly the highest honor. Please sit back and relax while we go through Chapter 3 of A New World, Potential Revealed. Though we all walk a different path and must face different hardships in our lifetime, I truly believe in the potential that we all possess, and I want you to see that too, to realize the responsibility of who you are. And that's why we're here, and that's why we continue to reach out. Thank you for being here. Potential revealed. All beings who live in the world possess potential. For some, it means the potential to succeed in what they set out to do. However, the manifestable power of potential was never really known to humankind. They lived on a different wavelength from those who conjured their potential. Only few humans were born with a large amount of it, and those were commonly referred to as seers, those that could look into the future to predict events. When the merging of hell and earth came to be, the rules had been changed forever. The new inhabitants of the planet assumed their abilities to manifest based on personality. Some warriors hide the abilities they develop via their potential. They keep them close to themselves in case of betrayal from their closest allies. Most are excited to show off their differences in what they're capable of. Emlyn and Mally fell into both categories, respectfully. Emlyn didn't understand what had started to happen as his understanding of things increased dramatically. Old languages such as English were no longer hurdles. Just holding books filled him with their knowledge. He figured it was an ability, but didn't know what the boundaries were, so he kept it to himself. Mally's thought process was along the lines of, "Wow, I can manipulate matter! This is amazing! I can't wait for everyone to see this!" The sun brilliantly gleamed off of the lake, overlooking a horizon with mountains, trees, and ominous obsidian land masses corrupting the serene landscape. Some masses floated in the sky, undisturbed by gravity's tether. Aoife sat on a broken mesh of wood with her feet in the water, admiring the colorful scenery that peeked through the darkness. It was her favorite spot to feel connected with the world. Few in their village enjoyed the feeling of water, but Mally and Aoife were always partial to aqueous sensations. Swimming was relaxing, though Mally wasn't the strongest at it. Her natural armor limited her buoyancy. "Hey, Aoife, wanna see something cool?" Mally sat down beside her, obviously hiding something behind her back. "What do you have?" She tried looking around at what Mally was holding, but she wouldn't let her see it. "Come on, you pain, show me." "It's a rock." Mally extended her hands to reveal a rock that sat comfortably in her palm. It was round and smooth, with no blemishes in the slightest. "A smooth rock. You're really impressive, you know that?" Aoife mocked gently. "It's not just a rock," she exclaimed, proud of herself with absolute certainty. "What's so special about it?" "Well, it's perfectly smooth, and..." "Never seen a smooth rock before? I guess I haven't seen one quite that smooth. But..." Aoife cut Mally off and laughed. "And I made it, you ass!" Mally glared her down, trying to retain her composure without breaking into a smile. "You can make rocks smooth? Or just make rocks? I'm confused." "Watch this." Mally smiled confidently. She held the rock out and focused intently as it rested in her palm. Slowly, bits of the stone started to sprout up from its surface. One sprout, two, three, and onward. They continued to reach the sky, coiling around each other and weaving in between. This continued as all traces of the original form slipped away. The sprouts had all meshed together to form a small stone tree resting in Mally's lavender hand. Her body swayed to the side, and she caught herself with her free hand, noticeably strained by the act. "Wow, that's amazing! Can you only do that to stone?" Aoife beamed with excitement. Just the thought of her best friend being able to do something so incredible was invigorating. Her ability had yet to show itself, but she could feel it coming soon enough. She just needed to be patient. "I don't think so. I mixed around some dirt earlier, but it seems that harder objects form a bit better, and the harder the object is, the more it drains me to change it." I can't wait until my ability shows, if it ever does. Her excitement dwindled and she looked down to the chipped wood below her. I guess not everyone can do something amazing, right? Doesn't matter. You're already amazing. Mally playfully nudged her. Who do you think inspires me when I feel like I can't fight anymore? Aoife looked to her and smiled in response. Shut up, she blushed. Nah, who else do you think I imagined beating up? Mally's cocky demeanor came out full force as her playful and happy grin twisted cruelly. Nothing more satisfying than wailing on your best friend, I tell you. You're a jerk. Not really. Yes, really. Aoife hit her back, knocking Mally over, sending her tumbling into the water. Mally's head emerged after a few seconds. She smiled and raised one of her hands up to show that she was still holding onto the stone tree. I still have it. Ha! I wasn't trying to make you lose it, Mally. So, let me have this. I'm proud of myself. Not that I'll forgive you for pushing me in. I think I'll manage. Aoife smiled and leaned back onto the wood, basking in the burning sun's rays. Silence followed for a few awkward moments. Hey, Mally? Yeah? You ever wonder who put this wood here? And why? Aoife wondered, trying not to open her eyes and get blinded by the sun. Not really. That's Emlyn's business. You think he knows about the things humans used to make around the lake? Why they're here? Maybe. Mally went silent for a bit longer, thinking if Emlyn ever mentioned anything about the water. I don't think he said anything to me. Oh well, I don't see myself getting involved with his books. I hope not. What's that supposed to mean? I already lost my brother to those things. Mally turned away to hide her embarrassment. I don't need to lose my best friend, too. What was that? I said you're my best friend and I don't want to lose you! Well, I knew that. Aoife kicked water at her. You don't need to tell me all the time. Go away! Mally resisted the urge to smile at her friend's silly gestures and instead dove underwater to get away from her. Aoife laughed. In the village, not far from the lake where Mally and Aoife were spending their time, a lone boy sat in front of the High Elder's hut with a calm dignity. His mind was focused on letting none pass that day. The Elder was taking a day of rest, so none were allowed to come inside. Those who sat in front of the entrance were a do not disturb sign to ward off unwelcome visitors. The ones who took this up were generally those that had retreated to simple, pacified lifestyles with set rules. The rules were as follows: no killing, live for others, and die for the Elder. The meat of the hunt was banned from their lips, along with anything not grown by themselves once they're fit to do so. They served as keepers of peace and balance between life and death. They swore absolute allegiance to the High Elder, as a symbol for the peace he had not been able to keep in his lifetime. Kerrigan's broad shoulders bobbed as he walked toward the hut. His large feet struck hard against the sand. His breathing was ragged and his eyes burned with an intensity that few could match, let alone a boy of simple life choices. The large metal plate garb that covered his body heaved with each grumbling movement. Kerrigan stretched his arms, cracking every point in his body possible. He stood in front of the lone boy and huffed. I want to see him. Of course, I can't let you do that. Come back some other day. The boy smiled patiently. He didn't know Kerrigan as anything more than a quiet man. His body was brutish and could make many turn tail, but not if you knew him as the man of simple pleasures, the occasional hunt, cooking, and making weapons for the village. Kerrigan had never expressed potential or having an ability, and none knew him to partake in the warrior's life aside from the provisions he supplied. I'd rather see him now. Move. He clenched his fists tightly. He knew he could rip through the boy with no issue. Kerrigan had lived his life quietly, not letting anyone onto his own capabilities, just as he was instructed to. Not going to do that. I'm sorry, Kerrigan. Come back another day. Move. Didn't you hear me? I'm not going to move. You'll have to leave. The boy was brave in the face of such a monstrous man, only thanks to the fact that he knew his own ability, as opposed to Kerrigan's lack of ability. This one of the elder's monk's heartbeat compounded its pressure into shock waves. He was fast, one of the fastest among his brethren, and he knew that each strike he could land would mutilate if necessary. "You're the boy born with the pulsating heart, correct?" Kerrigan asked. The boy didn't answer. "It's a bit of an interesting ability. From birth you feel it rippling through you, an energy so great you can train it, amplify it, work the muscle and your potential to refine it. Only it never stops." What are you saying? What I'm getting at. You won't die without destroying your heart. It would be cruel to leave you in such a mangled condition, praying for release. He spoke stoutly, reinforcing his actions as noble. Kerrigan, please leave. We live in a peaceful village. Don't bring malice here. The boy's heart started beating faster, sending minor shockwaves into the burning sand from his rusting legs. It's not my choice. It's yours. Move, or I tear you apart. Kerrigan extended his right arm and looked at it, then looked back at the sitting boy. But it wouldn't take long, I assure you. The boy stood up, hearing his call to arms. Those that swear not to kill are still capable of fighting for others. You understand this, correct? Of course. Then if you force my hand, I will. His frail body trembled. The boy knew his abilities were great, but he was also more terrified than anyone had ever made him before. Fighting was not in his nature. His ability had only been used on boulders and other large objects before, never another of flesh and blood. Don't speak so soon, Kerrigan scoffed at him. Blood was quick to taint the nameless village. Punishment came swift. Kerrigan had anticipated by his stance that the boy was going to lunge to the left in order to escape Kerrigan's large arms. However, he didn't understand the speed and unholy amount of power Kerrigan was capable of. Underestimation had broken him. A quick flash and Kerrigan's left arm sprang forward, his right arm flying backward from its original outstretched position. The boy was too focused on Kerrigan's left arm. He didn't notice the spring-like coil of his right. Flesh and bone twisted up, then unraveled in a tornado of divine wrath. The force of its spin sent it ripping through the frail boy's body, tearing flesh, bone, and organs alike. A direct ripping strike to the chest. The boy had been cut into ribbons in one devastating move. I told you to move. Kerrigan's disposition remained firm. He took no pleasure in ripping apart an innocent, but also had no hatred for it either. His opponent's blood looked enchanting as it boiled on the sand. Nobody ever listens. He looked to the beating heart of the boy, tumbled out from the remains of his body. It was weak and mostly broken, pulsating still, despite being ripped wide open. The young boy had an interesting power that had been feared in the old world's history. Kerrigan was advised to avoid any that were granted this ability, as the challenge to kill them would be a great one. He wasn't ready. Thank you so much for listening to Chapter 3 of A New World, Potential Revealed. I hope to see you next time in Chapter 4, God's Will. In case nobody has told you recently, you light up the room when you walk in. Your smile makes the world a safer place, and I love that you're here with me. Please, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for being here.